There is speculation there could be backstage issues over MJF and his influence on AEW programming if some liked tweets are to be believed. Details on that. Plus, MJF is set to team up with Samoa Joe next week on AEW Dynamite to face the henchman of the Devil. Do we have any more indications on who the Devil is? Adam Copeland versus Christian Cage for the TNT Championship has also been announced for next week's show, and Adam Copeland has had some strong words for his former best friend. The date and location for AEW Revolution 2024 is revealed by Sting and Ric Flair. Of course, that is the event where Sting is going to have the final match of his professional wrestling career. CM Punk reacts to the Monday Night Raw ratings after he made his return to the program this past Monday night. The very latest results and standings from the Continental Classic have been revealed. Will Ospreay discusses his relationship with AEW President Tony Khan, and Dante Martin wins his first match back on Dynamite in over 8 months. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. And let's start off talking about possible backstage issues within All Elite Wrestling between MJF, Britt Baker, Jack Perry, and Sammy Guevara. Now, this all begins with the injuries that MJF currently has. Of course, he has a torn labrum. He also has a dislocated hip as well. And he has been struggling and fighting through these injuries. And he's scheduled to defend the AEW World Championship against Samoa Joe at AEW World's End pay-per-view. Now, it begins with this tweet that came out yesterday prior to AEW Dynamite. He said the following. He said, quote, "I didn't sleep a wink, in a shit ton of pain and can't get comfortable, but it's Wednesday. We got a show to put on. I hear it all. I read it all. I see it all. I'm wide awake in more ways than one. Let's restore the feeling." Now, many people saw that as a rallying cry, if you will, to try and get behind AEW and try and soothe some of the criticism that's gone the way of the AEW product recently with some of the departures, CM Punk, QT Marshall, as well as others. But some looked at this and said, actually, you're to blame for some of the problems when it comes to AEW programming right now. This was evidenced by this tweet that was posted by Unsafe Chairshot, a Twitter account, who said, quote, "You have almost single-handedly destroyed the feeling, LOL." Now, you might say, Owen, that's a pretty innocuous tweet right there, but it's who actually liked it who is made this quite a significant story. First, you can see there, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, the former AEW Women's World Champion. She liked the tweet. She wasn't the only one, though. In addition to that, Sammy Guevara, the former TNT champion, also liked the tweet. And in addition to that, Jack Perry, of course, currently serving a suspension after his backstage altercation with CM Punk at AEW All In, which led to the departure of Punk from All Elite Wrestling, also liked the tweet. Now, some are suggesting that this means that there is yet again more infighting within All Elite Wrestling, suggesting that you can't restore the feeling, a good feeling or a feeling of goodwill, when you're beefing between yourselves backstage. However, others have suggested this is just a red herring. This is actually a revelation. This is actually revealing who the Devil Gang actually are in AEW. Whilst it maybe hasn't revealed the Devil himself, maybe the Devil assailants are actually Britt Baker, Sammy Guevara, and Jack Perry, who are rallying against MJF, and it's all just a case of trying to provoke the Twitter sleuths into finding out who indeed the Devil is and getting people interested in the storyline once again. Because, of course, one person who people thought the Devil could be was CM Punk, but now that's no longer the case. CM Punk is back with WWE, so it definitely can't be him. So is this just a case of AEW once again trying to get people to talk about their storyline? Or is it a case where in actuality there is real frustration backstage, there is real frustration about not being used, and there's real frustration that MJF continues to dominate the programming with multiple storylines across not only Dynamite but also AEW Collision. Now, this is something that was maybe further expanded upon by Britt Baker in another tweet that she put out yesterday as well. This was, as I mentioned, during Dynamite 2, and Britt Baker is seemingly unhappy with AEW management for her lack of promo time. Soon after last night's AEW Dynamite went off the air, former AEW Women's World Champion pointed out that she's been afforded 0 minutes of promo time in the year 2023 as compared to MJF and Christian Cage, who spoke in individual segments for nearly 20 minutes on Wednesday's show. Baker's post on X can be seen on the screen right now. She said, quote, "Tonight's AEW Dynamite, MJF live promo time 7 minutes, Christian Cage live promo time 10 minutes. All of 2023 AEW Dynamite, Britt Baker live promo time 0 minutes." Overall, women on last night's AEW Dynamite were featured for roughly 10 minutes, while Julia Hart versus Emi Sakura match went on for nearly 8 minutes. The only other segment saw RJ City interview Toni Storm and Mariah May in the backstage area. In recent months, fans and wrestling analysts alike have been critical of AEW for not affording enough television time to its women's division. As an example, All In, All Out, and Wrestle Dream all featured only one women's match on the main pay-per-view card. Saraya versus Hikaru Shida versus Baker versus Toni Storm, Chris Statlander versus Ruby Soho, and Statlander versus Hart respectively. Now, the most recent Full Gear pay-per-view, however, did include 2 title matches for the TBS and AEW Women's World Championship, yet other people are still frustrated with the lack of TV time and the lack of importance put on those matches. So what do you think about all of this? Do you think that there is legitimate backstage beef between, or certainly heat on MJF for the way he dominates AEW programming? Do you think that all of them are working? Do you think Britt Baker is right to be frustrated? Do you think she is legitimately frustrated, or because she's such a company person, she's actually playing into a future storyline? Let me know your thoughts, your perspectives, your theories on all of this in the comment section below. Now, MJF, as I mentioned, is currently in the storyline not only with Samoa Joe, but also the Devil, the person who has stolen his mask and seemingly is running roughshod over AEW. Now, MJF has addressed his current injury status as well as praising Samoa Joe during the November 29 episode of AEW Dynamite. AEW World Champion MJF appeared in the ring and addressed his World's End challenger Samoa Joe. MJF spent the majority of his promo recalling Joe's impact on professional wrestling, especially during his time in an alternative like TNA Wrestling. MJF noted that alternatives matter and thanked Joe for what he has done in that regard. MJF then went on to state that he will be a fighting champion at World's End on December 30 despite his current injuries. He also named a number of competitors that he has defeated during his time in AEW, including and specifically mentioning Cody Rhodes and CM Punk, of course 2 names that are no longer with All Elite Wrestling and are actually featured players on WWE television. Now, after wrapping things up, the lights went off, and then we got our latest developments when it comes to the Devil in All Elite Wrestling. Take a look at this. Now, as it stands, MJF will compete on the December 6th episode of Dynamite despite getting banged up from AEW Full Gear's match. He previously posted and deleted that he has a torn labrum in his left shoulder, but plans to defend his title at World's End as advertised. It was also noted by Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select that MJF is hoping to undergo treatments in order to avoid surgery on his shoulder. In addition to that, he also has a bad hip coming out of Dynamite too. So, what are your thoughts on the latest developments for the Devil storyline? Did you see any hints that on Dynamite last night that maybe suggest who the identity of the Devil is? What major developments do you think we'll get next week? And when do you think we're finally going to find out who indeed the person behind the mask is? Do you think that could be at World's End? And who do you think it is? Who do you think some of the assailants are as well? Will we get an unmasking next week on Dynamite? Let me know your thoughts about that, as always, in the comments section below. Now, let's also talk about Adam Copeland as his feud with Christian Cage continues, and we have the first match between the two set for AEW programming. The first singles match between Adam Copeland, the formerly Edge in WWE, and Christian Cage has been officially announced. On last night's AEW Dynamite, Christian Cage called out Copeland to talk to him about an epiphany he had while on a drive. Recalling that he loved their memories together, he wanted them to reunite for one final run as Copeland's mother Judy had wanted. However, while Copeland's back was turned momentarily, Cage was poised to strike with the TNT Championship before being caught by Copeland. With Adam Copeland anticipating the betrayal, he turned to catch Cage with a strike and went on to repeat a phrase that was said by Christian in the past. Take a look at what he said.
Oh, by the way, I almost forgot. Go fuck yourself.
Before leaving the ring, however, he did reveal that he would be challenging Cage for the TNT Championship in the Montreal debut of AEW Dynamite next Wednesday, December 6th. So that is another match that's set for the show. What do you think of the confrontation? What are your thoughts on the match next week? Do you think we could have a brand new TNT champion? Or do you think Christian somehow, some way is going to squirm away with the title once again? Now, the date and location for AEW Revolution 2024 has been revealed. Of course, it's a massive pay-per-view that's going to feature the last match ever in professional wrestling of WWE Hall of Famer Sting. Sting is set to retire in 2024, the only announced detail of next year's AEW Revolution event, ending his nearly 40-year career on his own terms. Now, Tony Schiavone announced on last night's AEW Dynamite that Revolution 2024 will occur on March 3rd, emanating from the historic Greensboro Coliseum in Greensboro, North Carolina. The arena is famous for many moments in NWA and WCW history, including the monumental Clash of Champions 1 main event between Sting and then NWA World Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair. The 45-minute time limit draw made Sting a major competitor in the eyes of fans and wrestlers alike. Sting and the Nature Boy were on hand on Dynamite to reflect on the match, with Sting noting that it was the first time that a sporting event went 45 minutes commercial-free, while Flair said about how the match made Sting a hot commodity in the wrestling business. Now, there is still no word on who Sting's opponent will be. The former WCW World Heavyweight Champion took part in the final match of Keiji Muto's The Great Muta Persona in February. The Wrestling Observer's Dave Meltzer reportedly told AEW President Tony Khan that Muto's retirement should be the blueprint for Sting's retirement. So whether or not we get any more details as to who the opponent or opponents are going to be in the future, if we get any more details on that in the future, we'll let you know. But who do you think Sting's final opponent should be, and what are your thoughts on the location for Sting's final match at Revolution in 2024? Let me know your thoughts about that as well. Now, CM Punk. So many people have been talking about CM Punk this week. We've got his reaction to the ratings for his return to Raw on Monday night. On November 27, 2023, hell froze over as CM Punk made his first appearance in a WWE ring for nearly a decade. CM Punk made his return at Survivor Series on Saturday before appearing in front of the Chicago crowd at the end of the show. This appearance led to quite a reaction from Seth Rollins, with it later being reported that the pair will be feuding going forward on WWE television. There's been back and forth between the pair before, with CM Punk and Rollins continuing to take shots at each other. Rollins would address Punk's return on the November 27 episode of Raw, referring to Punk as a hypocrite. Punk has also made a post on his Instagram story referencing Rollins' reaction at Survivor Series as well. With both Punk and Randy Orton now firmly back on our screens, the ratings for Raw have seen a substantial increase. As previously reported, the show pulled in 1.884 million viewers and scored a 0.65 in the 18 to 49 demographic. This gave Raw its highest viewership since the August 7 episode of the show, taking place 2 nights after SummerSlam, and the highest 18 to 49 rating since April 3rd, which was the night after WrestleMania. CM Punk has now commented on the rating news, again on his Instagram stories and in his highlights, tagging Randy Orton and I guess celebrating and giving props to both men moving the needle for Raw this past Monday. Now, the Continental Classic was last night once again on AEW programming, and we got quite a lot of information and new stuff coming out of it. First of which, AEW star Bryan Danielson returned to Dynamite last night, sporting a brand new look upon his return, an eye patch after his recent injury. After sustaining a broken orbital bone and having surgery on the area, Bryan Danielson returned on AEW Dynamite on commentary. Making his big entrance in front of the excited crowd, he was notably wearing a black eye patch along with his signature white t-shirt, jeans, and Blackpool Combat Club jacket. Danielson was on commentary for the first 2 matches of the night, both a part of the Gold League of the AEW Continental Classic. Now, the first match of the evening saw Jon Moxley also pick up another 3 points. He bested Jay Lethal, who picked up, as I mentioned, another 3 points in the tournament, bringing his total to 6. We'll talk about the final rankings in just a second. Next up was Jay Briscoe taking on Roosh, also in the tournament, with Roosh taking the victory and registering 3 points as well. Finally, in the main event of the show, Swerve Strickland picked up a big victory over Switchblade Jay White to take Swerve's total to 6 points, while White remains at 3. Bryan Danielson was the first competitor announced for the tournament, making his debut this coming Saturday in the Blue League. Bryan Danielson is set for a match, as I mentioned, against Eddie Kingston this coming weekend. As far as the standings overall in the Gold League, we can take a look at that right now. Jon Moxley currently sits on 6 points after 2 victories. The same with Swerve Strickland, who's also on 6 after 2 victories. Roosh currently sits on 3 points after a win against Mark Briscoe and a defeat against Jay White. Mark Briscoe currently on 0 points after back-to-back defeats against Moxley and Roosh. Jay Lethal also sits on 0 points after back-to-back defeats against Moxley and Swerve Strickland, whereas Switchblade Jay White also is currently on 3 after a victory last week against Roosh, but a defeat last night against Swerve Strickland. What have you made of the Continental Classic so far? Are you enjoying it? And who do you think is going to win? Let me know your thoughts, your predictions, as always, on that in the comment section below. And let me know where you think this tournament is going as well. Let me know your thoughts on all of that. Now, Will Ospreay is All Elite, or at least will be very, very soon, penning his contract at AEW Full Gear, and he's the newest addition to the AEW roster, and he's discussed his relationship with Tony Khan and how the AEW president earned his respect. The English star recently spoke to Sports Illustrated about signing with AEW and recorded a discussion with Khan after his match with AEW star Pac, which led to him holding Khan in high esteem. He said, quote, "I said my focus was on Japan and he felt respected, and he respected that. I'll always remember how he respected how I felt," said Ospreay about his conversation with Khan in 2019. The match between Ospreay and Pac was held in February 2019 for Rev Pro's High Stakes show, just weeks after the announcement about the formation of AEW. Ospreay's respect for Khan grew in the months and years to follow, with the English star admitting that his trust in the AEW chief increased after he featured in a few matches on AEW television last year. Quote, "People need to remember this. Since then, I've built a trust and respect with Tony. That's very important to me. When Tony had me work matches for AEW, like I did this summer at All In at Wembley Stadium, he didn't have to do that," said the former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. "He trusted me. That meant the world to me." He also added that he trusts Khan with his character in AEW and revealed that the AEW president has changed his life. At the All In show held earlier this year in his own backyard, Ospreay faced and defeated former AEW World Champion Chris Jericho. The 30-year-old was announced as the newest member of the AEW roster at the Full Gear pay-per-view earlier this month, but he recently revealed that he will also have a contract with New Japan, stating that he's among the first to hold contracts with both companies. So again, big news when it comes to that. Finally, Dante Martin made his return last night on AEW Dynamite. AEW star Dante Martin made his in-ring return on last night's show and secured a victory after being out with an injury for 8 months. Dante Martin joined his brother Darius Martin, together the tag team Top Flight and Action Andretti, in a trios match. Dante Martin picked up the pinfall victory over brother Zay, Isaiah Cassidy, who was teaming with another legendary pair of professional wrestling brothers, Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy. Dante Martin returned after having suffered a broken leg to rejoin his brother Darius and Action Andretti. The gruesome injury came during a match at Ring of Honor's Supercard of Honor pay-per-view in the Reach for the Sky ladder match in honor of Jay Briscoe to determine the next Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. After the ladder spot went wrong, Dante appeared to have his leg twisted in an unnatural position after doing a destroyer onto a flip of stacked tables. The clip was shown on last night's AEW Dynamite with a warning ahead of it due to the graphic nature of the injury. So Dante Martin is back. But there you go, guys. It's the latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right-hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.